Hi, my name's Penny, and today I'm going to do a bookshelf tour, which is why I'm just holding my camera somewhat haphazardly, because very soon I'm going to turn my camera around and take you through the shelves. But before I do that, I just wanted to say hi, and I guess just also say if there's any books that you see during this bookshelf tour that you want to know more about, then feel free to ask me questions down in the comments and I'll be happy to answer and have a chat. So let me take you on a tour. Okay, so I'm currently squished right back beside the other side of the room because that was the only way I could fit my whole bookshelf into view. But I just wanted to give a high level, and I guess you can also see the contraption I've made that I normally put my phone on to film, which is basically an old mic stand and a selfie stick made into some kind of tripod because I am doing booktube very low budget. But anyway, high level bookshelf. The first, look, you can see me, hi. The first three shelves are really my, well, three and a bit, are my favorite shelves. So books that I've read that I really loved, and either I'd want to reread them sometime in the future, or I really think that I would want to lend them to somebody. Then the next three shelves, so these three are my TBR, so books that I would like to read at some point. And then the bottom shelf is really books that I need to get rid of. Probably there's a book fair, like a charity book fair in August that I will probably donate most of them to. And I will probably replace some of them with books that I'll buy, but that's a different problem. Okay, so now I've gone up into the top left corner. Basically, I should say these bookshelves that I use are just really cheap ones, which is why I use them. You can usually get them for like $10 from the warehouse, so every time I want to expand, I just go and spend another $10 on another block of cubes. It's probably not the best bookshelf. I think it would all collapse in an earthquake, but oh well, whatever. That's just the way it is. So the first cube is essentially dedicated to the Kate Daniels series, which is my favorite series. And I have all 9 books that have been released so far, plus Gunmetal Magic, which is the kind of expanded one, side novel, I guess. Then I have in this section kind of my taller graphic novels and picture books. I have 3 Buffy volumes, some Firefly books, some like books from my childhood. This one here, Katundra, amazing. Outside over there, which is what the Labyrinth was inspired by. The 11th Hour, which is amazing. I'm not going to talk through all of them, but these ones are just, I don't know, kind of different from everything else. And they have to go in that spot because it's the only spot that they fit, because they go a little bit too high to fit in one of these cubes. The next square is basically, I have my books, you can kind of tell. Alona Andrews A. I'm like a librarian in my heart, right? So I have them ordered by author surname. So these are pretty much the B's. We've got Philippa Ballantyne books, some Holly Black books. This is another book from my childhood. I think it's the Fantastic Five. Yeah, Fantastic Five. I don't actually even think all the pages are there, but whatever. Some Ray Bradbury and the Fog books, which I'm sadly missing the Fog, and I'm really sad about that. So if anybody happens to know how to get a Fog in this kind of edition, I would be super happy about that. Then I have pretty much, these are kind of my TBR books. Just the other day I accidentally requested Invictus from the library, even though I'm not supposed to be starting any new series until I finish the ones I have in progress. But oh well, it's now on my shelf, so I'll have to read it before it's due back. Then this shelf doesn't have many books in it, but we're up to the C's. It also has Applejack. Just got Tandia. I really need to get the Power of One to go with that. And then also Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, which was one of my favorite books of 2018. Then we come down to, I guess we're up to the D's and the G's. So I got The Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, which I really need to reread at some point, but man, those are massive, so who knows when I'll get to it. Another couple of books from my childhood, which are just like so cool. So I keep them. Then American Gods, which I really loved, and Looking for Alaska is the only John Green book that I've read that I keep because I really liked it. The others weren't quite good enough to keep. Then the Half Bad trilogy by Sally Green, and I keep Rainbow Dash here because I think she matches the color scheme of that trilogy quite well. Then Up to the H is The Little White Horse. It's another book from my childhood that really got me into fantasy. Some books by J.C. Hart, Tanya Huff, some more ponies. Gotta have ponies on your bookshelf. And then the God's War trilogy by Cameron Hurley, which just has beautiful covers, so I quite like displaying those. Then I have a few of these Stephen King books, which I saved from like the inorganics, so they were put out for the rubbish and they got stuck in the rain, and I saved them, and they are not in very good condition because of that, but they are still completely readable. I got Ursula Le Guin, We Were Liars, The Host, another awesome book from my childhood. These books, I say they're from my childhood. They're really books that my mum had as a teenager / young adult, and I just inherited them at some point when I started stealing her books when I got old enough to read. And The Time Traveler's Wife, which of course I love time travel books, so I quite like that. The next shelf is the Thirst series, and to be honest, I'm probably gonna get rid of this series because I didn't really like the last books. I'm gonna try and get the original books for the last vampire series and then just pretend that the last books never existed. So if we go over here, I have the rest of my Christopher Pike books. I used to have some more, but I sold them, which is really annoying. But the last vampire books are like about this size, the original ones. I love all of Christopher Pike books. They're kind of like Goosebumps / Stephen King, but like in their age group in the middle. And also my Ruins of Ambrai, Exiles books. Waiting for that third book in the series. It's gonna come one day. If you believe it, it will come, right? Then I've got the Tiger and Dell series, some volumes, and then the last book by Jennifer Roberson. First two books of the Kingkiller Chronicle by Patrick Rothfuss. This, I guess, is my V.E. Schwab section, although it's also got Black Beauty snuck in there because Anna Sewell comes between Patrick Rothfuss and V.E. Schwab. Hey, that's not even true. But it does come somewhere in between Rothfuss, Schwab, and Steve Adder. So over here I have my Maggie Steve Adder shelf. Well, it's pretty much the Raven cycle. Unfortunately, you can see back here I do have Blue Lily Lily Blue, but it's a different edition. I'm really bummed. I somehow bought the wrong one. So at the moment I'm just covering it up until I solve that problem. But they're such beautiful books. I don't actually even know if I had to fit 4 in that shelf. I don't know how it would fit, so it's kind of fine the way it is. Then I guess this is my last shelf of my favorites, which is basically my Brandon Sanderson Mistborn trilogy, some Richie Tankersley Kuzik. So just basically when I was a teenager, I used to read all these like teen thrillers. I loved them, and so those were a couple of my favorites. I really love The Hobbit. This one, I don't really remember this. I might get rid of this at some point. It's another book from my childhood though that I thought I liked, but now that I think about it, I don't remember what happens. And then also The Legend of Nightfall, which is a really great couple of books. So that is all my favorites. Then we get into my TBR. So these are the top 10, which I made a video about the other day. I might link it somewhere if you want to check that out. Basically, of the next 3 levels that I'm going to talk about, this is the shelf that I'm planning to read this year. And who knows when I'll get to the rest of them. I also do have these ones, which I would like to get to. Which is Court of Thorn and Roses. Of course, that series is very popular, although considering how much I disliked Tower of Dawn, I'm not really in a hurry to pick that up. Also, the first book in the Ministry of Peculiar Occurrences by Philippa Ballantyne and her husband, partner, something. Philippa Ballantyne, I've read one of her series, which I've talked about before, and this is another one of her series that she's released quite a lot of books in, so I wanted to give it a go. But of course, starting a new series is a bit of a commitment, but I did buy the first book. And then I also have The Magic Misfits by Neil Patrick Harris, which I couldn't resist buying, and so now I should probably read that at some point. Then we got my Paul Kindle, which I hardly ever use anymore because I tend to just read ebooks on my phone because my phone goes everywhere with me. And it's easier to get library books on my phone than on my Kindle, and a couple of light bulbs just for fun. Then I've got a whole bunch of random ones. Some of them I've talked about before. A lot of them have been given to me by my mum or my sister. Same with this shelf. This shelf is mostly books from book fairs, or like this one I bought from a library sale and I know nothing about it. These ones my mum gave me, book fair, Christmas present, mystery book box. Next row, I have my 3DS and my 3DS games, but more importantly, what's this series called? Saga of Recluse series. I actually never meant to buy these. I went once to buy some books from, I bought them off Trade Me, which is like New Zealand's eBay equivalent. And when I went to pick up the books, I don't remember what books I was actually buying. But basically, the man who was selling them was dying, and he had a whole shitload of books that he was trying to get rid of. So I bought some more. And I actually really like this series, and I'm hoping to read more, so it worked out quite well. For me. I guess for him, because he wanted to get rid of his books. I do also have this other couple of books by him, but I honestly often think about moving them down to the last shelf. Like, I don't think I'll ever get to them, but whatever. I also have these books, are a whole bunch of weight loss books that my mum gave me that I'll probably sell, but I don't know. I feel like I should do something with them before I sell them. Get any knowledge from them. I don't know. Also, these are mostly here to sell or get rid of, to be honest. This should be on the bottom row. Also, I love Babysitter's Club books, but I don't really need my Annie Madden biography. And these covers are awful compared to the originals, so we need to get rid of those as well. And my cool Jack box from my childhood. Look how cute he is. He goes back in there. Probably won't stay now. Stay. Okay, he's good. Then I have some books from the Dragons of Pern series. Mercedes Lackey. I forget what that series was called, but the one with the witch girl. The Iron Trial, which I'd like to read at some point, and The Holes in its sequel. Then I also have some other random books. I don't know. What are these books? Mostly ones I bought on sale or got in book fairs. We're getting down to ones that who knows when I'll ever read it. I do really love the covers on these books. Look how beautiful that is, Beyond Ragnarok. But who knows when I'll get to that series. I love Julia May. I have read the second book in this series, and then I realized I should probably read the first book first. Legend, everyone talks about that. Percy Jackson, everyone talks about that. Mortal Instruments, everyone talks about that. I pretty much just have those because I feel like I should read them, but I don't really have any motivation to do so. Okay, then I have all of these books which I got for really cheap at a book fair, so I don't know when I'll ever get to them. Some other books from my sister. Another book from a New Zealand author that I've really been meaning to read because I bought it ages ago, but I haven't because I am shit. Then, like a random Acorna, the Unicorn Girl book. A couple of these Pliocene, Saga of the Exiles books that I would like to reread. Technically, I could put them up on my read shelf because I have read them before, but I really want to reread them. And then I have The Girl Who Played with Fire, books 1, 2, 3. These are not in the right order, Penny. Come on. But yep, they're too big for me to pick up. And then I also have like Red Queen, another random New Zealand author book that I bought at some point that I should read. And the King's Dragon series, which honestly, this is books 1, 2, 4, and 5. And I swear I owned book 3, but it doesn't seem to be on my shelf, so I don't know whether I ever owned it. I don't know. I'm so confused. I was sure I owned it. Who knows? And then I also have some other books, including some Catherine Kerr books and Aragon, which I haven't read, but I should. And then it's getting hard to film, and also these are the books that I need to get rid of. So The Book Thief, which I didn't really enjoy, even though everyone says it's great. Gone Girls and Sharp Objects, which were okay, but not worth keeping. The Martian Chronicles are okay, again, but not worth keeping. This Valdemar College one, kind of crap, so we'll pass those on. Some Stephen King ones that I had to admit I'd never buy. Stupid Sweet Belly. I don't know, just a whole bunch of books that I don't care enough about, or that were from when I was a kid. Then a random bunch of Marion Zimmer Bradley ones that I never got around to reading, and I don't think I ever will. Black Swan Rising was okay, but not enough to buy the other books in the series, so I'm getting rid of it. Hunger Games. I guess I could keep that, but again, I don't feel motivated enough to buy the next 2 books in the series, so there's no point just having the first book in the series, is there? A couple more. I've already got Black Beauty, Higher Up, and Wuthering Heights, which I don't know, I should read it, but I just don't ever think I will. Same with Bloodlines. I mean, I wouldn't mind reading it, but let's be honest, there are too many books here. Then I got Rosie... You really can't see this anymore. Sorry about the lighting. The Rosie Black Chronicles, which were good, but I was never able to get hold of the 3rd book in physical form, and they're probably not worth keeping. I'd never recommend them to anyone. I'd never read them. Lord of the Rings, which was such a struggle to get through that I will never reread it. Same with the Silmarillion. Some other random fantasy books and just books I won't want to reread. I mean, a lot of these I have read, I just wouldn't want to reread them. And then the last one is just, I think, mostly books that I bought thinking I would want to read them, but then I realized I never will. So, I think that was a much longer video than I was planning to make it. I always try to be concise and brief, and then I fail at that. But I hope that you found it somewhat interesting to have a look at my shelves and how I sort it out. I guess if you saw anything on my TBR shelf section or the bottom section that I'm chucking that you think is probably worth me reading, let me know, because otherwise I'm probably not that motivated to read a lot of them, even though I should be. So if you can help me motivate myself, that would be great. I hope that you are having a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.